Here are two more boring recent examples that you likely will have missed that you can use in the UK government paper in A-level politics, particularly for the Parliament topic. So for questions such as evaluate the view that Parliament is effective in carrying out its functions, evaluate the view that the legislative process works effectively in Parliament, or evaluate the view that the government is held to account effectively by Parliament. Okay, so the first example is in relation to the Railways Bill introduced by the UK government. This is effectively the bill that would introduce and establish Great British Railways to manage infrastructure and train operators, moving us closer to a nationalised rail system rather than a privatised rail system. And this is a really good example of effective legislative scrutiny by Parliament. So the Railways Bill entered its committee stage on the 20th of January 2026 and only finished on the 10th of February 2026. And this is because there were 14 sessions of committee stage before entering the report stage. And the committee stage is effectively where bills are examined by a public bill committee. So this public bill committee, where there are between 16 and 50 MPs, examines legislation in loads of detail, carries out detailed scrutiny and proposes amendments. And the fact that there were 14 sessions of committee stage for this bill is a really good example for the argument that Parliament is effective in terms of legislative scrutiny, because this was really detailed scrutiny within the House of Commons. So as we've looked at in previous examples, there are lots of examples recently of legislation being rushed through the House of Commons. And that meaning that the House of Lords has to do more scrutiny, and also meaning that legislation isn't effectively scrutinised. But this is actually an example you can use for the counter-argument on the other side, that actually in relation to really important bills like this one is, there still is often really effective legislative scrutiny from the House of Commons. Okay, so the next example is in relation to the UK-India Free Trade Agreement. And the negotiation of free trade agreements are a prerogative power. And prerogative powers are powers effectively held by the government rather than by Parliament. A lot of them are key foreign policy powers, like this negotiation of free trade agreements. This free trade agreement between the UK and India was negotiated by the government. And actually, because it's a prerogative power, Parliament doesn't have the right to scrutinise trade agreements, and the government doesn't have to let Parliament be able to scrutinise trade agreements. However, in this case, the government, which controls a lot of the parliamentary timetable, allowed a general debate on the UK-India Free Trade Agreement. And in this debate, MPs of all parties, so different MPs from lots of parties, criticised the Free Trade Agreement, including for things like allowing Indian workers and their employers to evade paying national insurance, whilst the Commons Business and